Legacy of Byzantium. Often eclipsed by the grandeur of ancient Rome, the Byzantine Empire stands as one of the most long-lasting and impactful civilizations in world history. Stretching across more than a millennium, from 330 CE, when Emperor Constantine the Great founded Constantinople as the empire's new capital, until its dramatic fall in 1453 at the hands of the Ottoman Turks, Byzantium was a pillar of strength, intellect, and culture. Its narrative is one of clever strategy, religious evolution, and significant impact that helped mold both ancient traditions and the modern world. At the center of the Byzantine world stood Constantinople, strategically located along the Bosporus Strait, where Europe intersects with Asia. This premium position transformed the city into a bustling junction of trade and tradition, commanding crucial commercial paths between the Mediterranean and Black Seas. Constantinople flourished into a dynamic center of commerce and authority, its bazaars brimming with goods from far-off regions, and its coffers enriched through trade levies. The city's fortifications were famed, surrounded by vast, seemingly invincible walls. It withstood numerous invasions through the ages. For close to 1,000 years, Constantinople remained the luminous gem of Byzantium, crowned by the majestic Hagia Sophia, with its stunning dome and detailed mosaics. This structure was more than an architectural feat. It stood as a beacon of Orthodox Christianity and symbolized Byzantine creativity. A major hallmark of the empire was its critical role in the development of Christianity. In the 4th century, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting legal status to Christianity and paving the way for it to become the state religion. Over time, Byzantium emerged as the spiritual capital of Eastern Christianity, separate from the Western branch. This divergence was formalized in 1054 during the Great Schism, which permanently split the Eastern Orthodox Church from the Roman Catholic Church, establishing Byzantium's unique religious character. Orthodox Christianity profoundly shaped Byzantine life. Monastic life thrived, with spiritual hubs like Mount Athos becoming centers of contemplation and study. The Byzantine tradition of icons, religious images, was deeply respected. These holy visuals, often crafted with radiant gold and intense colors, were viewed as sacred links to the divine, essential to Orthodox prayer and symbolism. They express the empire's deep commitment to spiritual meaning and transcendent beauty. The reign of Emperor Justinian I, from 527 to 565 CE, signified a golden period in Byzantine history. Aiming to resurrect the former glory of Rome, Justinian initiated wide-ranging military missions, led by his gifted general Belisarius, temporarily recapturing territories in North Africa, Italy, and Spain. Though short-lived, these victories represented a brief reawakening of Roman power. However, Justinian's lasting impact came through his legal achievements. His Corpus Juris Civilis, or body of civil law, was a groundbreaking collection that streamlined centuries of Roman legal practice. This monumental code became the backbone of Byzantine legal tradition and left a lasting impression on European legal systems, significantly influencing the development of modern civil law. Justinian's era also left an enduring mark on architecture. The reconstruction of the Hagia Sophia during his reign exemplified Byzantine structural mastery and artistic innovation. Its massive dome appeared to hover effortlessly above the sacred space, filling onlookers with wonder. Byzantium was a fusion of Greco-Roman heritage and Eastern customs, producing a distinctive cultural essence. Its art, noted for sparkling mosaics and iconic religious imagery, merged realism with divine spirituality. Unlike Western art, which emphasized lifelike representation, Byzantine artistry focused on revealing spiritual truths and heavenly presence. Education and intellectual pursuits thrived in Byzantium. Scholars there conserved, studied, and expanded upon the works of ancient Greek philosophers like Plato and Aristotle, preserving wisdom that might have vanished during Europe's chaotic medieval period. This scholarly tradition later influenced the Islamic Golden Age and, in time, returned to Western Europe, helping ignite the Renaissance and guiding the path of modern thinking. The endurance of the Byzantine Empire is largely attributed to its innovative military tactics and astute diplomacy. One of its most famous wartime tools was Greek fire, a mysterious flammable weapon that could ignite even on water, offering a crucial edge in naval warfare. The empire's forces, such as the elite Varangian Guard, warriors from Norse and Anglo-Saxon backgrounds, were exceptionally disciplined and fiercely devoted. Diplomatic expertise was just as critical to Byzantine survival. Its leaders expertly manipulated rival factions, arranged tactical marriages, and used clever negotiations to avoid conflict. This blend of force and diplomacy enabled the empire to persist even as the rest of Europe plunged into feudal disorder. Nonetheless, Byzantium's strength was repeatedly tested. The Fourth Crusade in 1204 was a crushing defeat. Though originally aimed at reclaiming Jerusalem, the Crusaders instead turned on Constantinople, looting the city and dividing its wealth. For many years, Constantinople remained under Latin rule, and even after the Byzantines reclaimed it, the empire was left fatally weakened. By the 14th century, the Ottoman Turks emerged as a dominant threat, gradually seizing Byzantine territories. In 1453, under the leadership of Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottomans launched a final assault on Constantinople. Despite fierce resistance, the city was overtaken, bringing the Byzantine Empire to an end. The fall of Constantinople was a turning point in global history, symbolizing the close of the medieval era and the rise of Ottoman dominance. Though the empire collapsed, its legacy remained powerful. Byzantine preservation of Greek and Roman scholarship became the bedrock of the European Renaissance. Its religious customs continued to influence Orthodox nations like Russia, Greece, and Serbia. From mosaic artistry to domed cathedrals, Byzantine contributions to art and architecture are still regarded as crowning achievements of human creativity. More than a mere connection between antiquity and modernity, Byzantium created its own cultural identity, blending Eastern and Western traditions into a singular, magnificent civilization. Its saga is one of strength, reinvention, and meaningful impact, a shining example of how ideas and culture can endure. Even centuries after its fall, Byzantine heritage continues to light the corridors of human history. Origins of Christianity, now one of the world's major religions, began as a small Jewish sect in 1st century Judea, a region under Roman occupation. This period was marked by social unrest and a longing for a Messiah, a savior prophesied in Jewish scriptures to liberate the people from oppression. Various Jewish groups responded differently to Roman rule. The Pharisees emphasized strict adherence to Jewish law, the Sadducees controlled temple worship, the Zealots advocated for rebellion, and the Essenes withdrew from society to live in purity. Amid this backdrop, Jesus of Nazareth emerged as a charismatic preacher. His teachings, centered on love, forgiveness, and humility, attracted many followers, especially among marginalized groups. He spoke of the kingdom of God, interpreted by many as a call for moral and spiritual renewal rather than political revolution. However, his growing influence alarmed both Jewish religious leaders and Roman authorities, leading to his crucifixion around 30 CE, a method of execution reserved for political dissidents. Despite his death, Jesus' followers claimed he had risen from the dead, an event they termed the resurrection. This belief transformed Jesus into a figure of divine significance and galvanized his followers to spread his teachings. Initially a small Jewish sect, the early Christians redefined salvation as a universal promise for all humanity, not just the Jewish people. A pivotal figure in this transformation was Paul of Tarsus, a former Pharisee who converted to Christianity after a visionary experience. He traveled extensively, establishing Christian communities and writing letters that articulated key theological ideas. helping shape Christianity into a coherent and adaptable belief system. Christianity spread rapidly, particularly among urban populations in the Roman Empire. Its teachings resonated with the poor and disenfranchised, offering hope, community, and a sense of purpose. Early Christian communities were notable for their mutual support, including care for the sick and poor, contrasting with the often impersonal and hierarchical nature of Roman society. Initially, the Roman state viewed Christianity with suspicion. Christians' refusal to participate in traditional Roman religious practices, including emperor worship, was seen as a threat to social cohesion. Periodic persecutions sought to suppress the movement, but these often had the opposite effect. Martyrdom, the public execution of Christians who refused to renounce their faith, became a powerful symbol of conviction and inspired others to join the movement. A turning point came in the early 4th century with Emperor Constantine. According to historical accounts, Constantine converted to Christianity after a vision before a crucial battle. In 313 CE, he issued the Edict of Milan, legalizing Christianity and ending centuries of persecution. By aligning himself with Christianity, Constantine recognized its growing influence and used it to unify the empire. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius declared Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. The integration of Christianity into Roman governance and culture marked a profound shift, transforming both the religion and the empire. Christianity's rise reshaped the ancient world, introducing new ideas about human dignity, compassion, and the moral obligations of rulers, which influenced Western thought for centuries. The Christian Church became a central institution in medieval Europe, preserving knowledge, shaping art and philosophy, and serving as a unifying force during times of political fragmentation. From a scientific perspective, the success of Christianity can be understood as a product of its adaptability and universal appeal. Its message was flexible enough to transcend cultural boundaries and resonate with diverse populations. Its organizational structure allowed it to survive and thrive under varying political conditions, and its ability to provide meaning and community in a complex and often harsh world gave it a resilience that few movements could match. In summary, the rise of Christianity is not only a religious story, but also a human one, a story of how ideas, institutions, and social dynamics converge to create movements that transform societies. By examining its growth through the lens of history and sociology, we gain a deeper understanding of how this once small sect became a cornerstone of global civilization. The Islamic Golden Age. The Islamic Golden Age, spanning roughly from the 8th to the 14th century, was a period of remarkable intellectual, scientific, and cultural flourishing in the Islamic world. This era saw the Islamic world become a vibrant hub of innovation and discovery, blending knowledge from diverse civilizations and creating a legacy that shaped the course of global progress. From advancements in science and medicine to groundbreaking contributions in philosophy, mathematics, and the arts, this era laid the foundation for much of the intellectual revival that later defined the European Renaissance. The Islamic Golden Age began under the Abbasid Caliphate, particularly during the reigns of visionary leaders like Al-Mansur and Al-Ma'mun, who established Baghdad as a center of learning and culture. At the heart of this intellectual movement was the House of Wisdom, a legendary library and academy in Baghdad where scholars from across the known world gathered to translate, study, and expand upon the knowledge of ancient civilizations, including Greek, Persian, Indian, and Egyptian texts. Unlike many rulers who sought power through conquest alone, the Abbasid caliphs recognized that knowledge was a form of power. Their support for scholarship was deeply rooted in Islamic teachings, which emphasized the pursuit of knowledge as a divine act. The Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad encouraged learning, inspiring an age of unprecedented intellectual curiosity and exploration. Cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba became bustling centers of knowledge, drawing scholars, scientists, and philosophers from all corners of the Islamic world and beyond. The Islamic Golden Age made remarkable contributions to medicine, bridging ancient traditions with new discoveries. Physicians like Al-Razi, known as Rhazes in the West, revolutionized clinical practices, emphasizing careful observation and evidence-based diagnosis. His comprehensive medical encyclopedia, Al-Hawi, became a cornerstone of medical education in both the Islamic world and medieval Europe. Ibn Sina, or Avicenna, further elevated the field with his monumental work, The Canon of Medicine. This encyclopedic text synthesized Greek, Roman, and Islamic medical knowledge, offering insights into anatomy, pharmacology, and treatment methods. It introduced groundbreaking diagnostic techniques and served as a standard reference in European universities for centuries, influencing medical practice well into the Renaissance. Mathematics flourished during this period, with scholars making significant advances that continue to shape modern disciplines. Al-Khwarizmi, often referred to as the father of algebra, introduced foundational concepts in his book, Kitab al-Jabr, from which the term algebra is derived. His work also popularized the decimal system and the concept of zero, tools essential for modern mathematics and engineering. Astronomy, closely tied to mathematical advances, saw tremendous progress. Scholars like al-Battani refined trigonometric calculations and improved methods for predicting celestial events, knowledge that proved crucial for navigation and religious practices, such as determining the direction of Mecca. Al-Biruni accurately calculated the Earth's circumference centuries before European explorers confirmed it, while al-Sufi developed planetary models that prefigured Copernicus's heliocentric theory. The philosophers of the Islamic Golden Age didn't merely preserve ancient knowledge. They expanded it, challenging established ideas and introducing new perspectives. Their respect for reason and empirical inquiry became hallmarks of the era, fostering a spirit of intellectual openness that transcended religious and cultural boundaries. One of the era's most enduring contributions was its role in preserving the intellectual heritage of antiquity. During a time when much of the classical world's knowledge risked being lost, Islamic scholars translated works by luminaries such as Galen and Hippocrates into Arabic. These translations were not mere copies. Scholars critiqued, annotated, and expanded upon these texts, creating a dynamic body of knowledge that would later be reintroduced to Europe through Latin translations. This effort wasn't limited to science and philosophy. Literature and poetry flourished as well, with works like 1001 Nights blending moral lessons with imaginative storytelling. Persian poets like Rumi explored themes of love, unity, and spirituality, crafting verses that continue to inspire readers worldwide. The achievements of the Islamic Golden Age did not remain confined to the Islamic world. Through Spain, particularly the city of Córdoba, and institutions like the School of Translators in Toledo, Arabic texts were translated into Latin, sparking a revival of intellectual activity in Europe. These translations introduced Europe to the rise of Greek city-states. The ancient Greek city-states, or polis, were more than mere settlements. They were thriving hubs of governance, innovation, and cultural progress. Envision a world where majestic marble temples loomed over lively agoras, where scholars held philosophical discussions beneath olive trees, and where citizens assembled to vote on decisions that would direct their shared future. These independent city-states, scattered across the shimmering Aegean Sea, spoke a common tongue and held similar traditions, yet maintained fiercely unique identities. Among these, Athens emerged as the cradle of democracy, a daring and delicate political experiment that reshaped the human understanding of authority and civic involvement. In contrast to the vast empires of Persia and Egypt, Greek polis were compact and autonomous, each with its distinct political system, army, and customs. Some, like Sparta, were deeply militarized societies governed by oligarchies where discipline and strength reigned above all. Athens, on the other hand, embarked on a dramatically different path, one that laid the cornerstone for democratic principles, a groundbreaking concept suggesting that ordinary people could share power. This was not democracy in the modern sense. Rather, it was an evolving trial, flawed, yet filled with the possibility of something revolutionary. In its early stages, Athens was far from a democratic haven. Imagine a city dominated by aristocratic elites, where the lower classes suffered under unbearable debts and social inequality ran unchecked. Out of this unrest emerged reformers who dared to envision a new system. One of Athens' pioneering figures, Solon, eliminated debt slavery, a harsh practice that forced individuals into bondage over unpaid obligations. He restructured the economy and gave more citizens the right to engage in public affairs, planting the seeds of transformation. While his measures didn't fully establish democracy, they laid essential groundwork. The true democratic breakthrough came with Cleisthenes, often revered as the architect of Athenian democracy. In a radical act of political restructuring, Cleisthenes weakened the influence of aristocratic clans by introducing new regional units called demes. These mixed communities blurred traditional divisions and fostered unity, creating a more equitable political environment. Picture a system where political influence wasn't inherited but earned through civic duty, a society where common citizens, regardless of noble birth, had the opportunity to shape government policy. Cleisthenes' reforms established the core of what would become the most audacious idea of the age, that governance could belong to the people. However, Athenian democracy had serious constraints. Women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded entirely, and even among male citizens, wealth and prestige heavily influenced participation. Yet the concept of direct civic involvement was transformative. Visualize the ecclesia, an open citizens' assembly where issues of war, law, and commerce were debated publicly. Every eligible citizen had the right to speak and vote, a stark contrast to the centralized rule of monarchs and emperors elsewhere. Supporting the ecclesia was the bull, a council of 500 citizens selected by lottery, ensuring that political power was not reserved solely for the elite. This principle of isonomia, or equality under the law, became a hallmark of Athenian political life. But democracy was not without its detractors. Philosophers like Plato feared that unchecked rule by the masses could spiral into anarchy. Aristotle, though more measured in his views, questioned whether a democratic system could adequately balance expert leadership with popular decision-making. These concerns still echo today in discussions about the challenges faced by modern democracies. Ultimately, Athenian democracy was tested and fractured by war. The Peloponnesian War, a devastating conflict between Athens and Sparta, tore apart the city's unity and strength. Envision a city under siege, its proud walls destroyed, its institutions collapsing amid internal dissent and external attack. Though Athenian democracy waned, its influence persisted. The legacy of the Greek city-states is one of exploration, determination, and enduring ambition. They served as incubators of political thought, their impact rippling through the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the formation of contemporary democratic governments. Athens, with all its limitations and flaws, dared to dream of a society where power was not monopolized by kings or elites, but shared among the populace. That courageous vision continues to resonate, reminding us that while democracy is inherently fragile, it remains one of the most profound achievements in human history. Indus River Basin, one of the earliest birthplaces of organized human society, remains an enigmatic yet enthralling piece of the historical puzzle. It thrived roughly between 3300 BCE and 1300 BCE, flourishing along the lush floodplains of the Indus River, situated in what is today Pakistan and the northwestern part of India. Known as the Harappan civilization, this society stood out for its advanced city layouts, noteworthy architectural achievements, and widespread commercial connections. Yet a great deal about it remains obscure, especially due to its untranslated writing system, which still puzzles academics. A particularly noteworthy aspect of this civilization was its complex and intelligent urban structure. In contrast to many other ancient cultures governed by monarchs or dominant religious classes, the Indus settlements were thoughtfully laid out using a grid system. Major urban hubs like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa featured roadways that crossed each other at perfect right angles, showcasing a high degree of administrative skill and urban discipline. These innovative city planning practices even came well before similar systems appeared in places like Imperial Rome. Their dedication to cleanliness and waste management further emphasizes their brilliance. Residences in Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were furnished with private wells, lavatories, and an elaborate sewage infrastructure that diverted used water far from homes. This attention to public hygiene was unheard of in those times, firmly placing the Indus society among the most sophisticated early urban cultures ever discovered. Another stunning feature was the uniformity of materials and measurement systems across settlements. The construction bricks followed standard dimensions, and the scales and weights used for commerce were consistently regulated, no matter the location. This indicates a central authority that supervised everything from building practices to economic transactions, enabling efficient governance and trade. Commerce was a central pillar in the success of the Indus culture. Archaeological discoveries show that they maintained wide-ranging internal and international trade routes, linking their cities to lands such as Mesopotamia, as well as parts of modern-day Iran and Afghanistan. Seals with Indus symbols unearthed in Mesopotamia hint at a vibrant exchange involving cloth, metal objects, and precious stones. These lucrative commercial activities were key to the civilization's wealth and longevity. Even though there's no sign of massive temples or centralized religious hubs, the relics they left behind suggest a deeply spiritual culture. Items such as figurines, carved seals, and various ritual objects imply that nature worship and fertility rites may have played significant roles. One standout artifact, the Pashupati seal, illustrates a cross-legged human figure surrounded by animals, which some experts believe could be an early version of Lord Shiva, pointing to a connection between Indus beliefs and later Hindu traditions. Arguably, the most puzzling aspect of the Indus society is its yet-to-be-deciphered script. Thousands of examples on pottery, stamp seals, and tablets have been recovered, but without a bilingual reference like the Rosetta Stone, these inscriptions remain unreadable. As a result, critical elements of their culture, government, religion, and daily routines remain hidden, sparking ongoing debate and curiosity among historians. The disappearance of the Indus civilization also remains a deep mystery. By 1300 BCE, major settlements such as Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro had been deserted, and the population sharply declined. Scholars have proposed various reasons, ranging from environmental shifts like river depletion or flooding to the arrival of Indo-Aryan groups. Others believe that internal factors, such as breakdown in infrastructure or social instability, may have caused the downfall. Nevertheless, the influence of this great civilization carried on. Its legacy in organized city life, commercial systems, and possible religious foundations deeply impacted future Indian cultures. The Indus civilization stands as proof of early humanity's brilliance in forming complex, orderly societies. In conclusion, the society along the Indus River highlights the creative genius of ancient humans in governance, construction, and trade. Their geometrically planned cities, innovative sanitation, and broad trading networks and how far ahead of their time they were. Yet the unsolved riddles of their language, rituals, and sudden fall keep the Indus civilization one of the most fascinating historical enigmas ever uncovered. With every archaeological breakthrough, we draw closer to unlocking this extraordinary piece of our human story. Dynasties of Ancient China. The civilization of ancient China is a rich historical fabric woven together through the emergence and dissolution of dynasties that molded not just Chinese society, but also had a far-reaching effect on world history. Stretching across millennia, China's dynastic timeline is filled with landmark achievements in governance, science, philosophy, and technology, establishing it as one of the most enduring and influential cultures in global heritage. This journey begins with the Shah dynasty, often considered China's original ruling family. However, much of what we know about them is myth-laden, with minimal archaeological evidence to verify their existence. Ancient manuscripts like the Shu Jing Book of Documents attribute to the Shah the beginnings of Chinese agriculture and bronze work. Though its historical legitimacy is contested, the Shah hold a symbolic position between legend and verified record. The first historically confirmed dynasty is the Shang, renowned for its advances in bronze craftsmanship, the birth of Chinese writing, and a structured political system. Archaeological digs have uncovered intricate bronze items and oracle bones, giving us a glimpse into Shang life. These inscribed bones, used to predict the future, highlight the importance of ancestor worship and show how spirituality was woven into both governance and everyday life. After the Shang came the Zhou dynasty, which turned out to be the longest reigning dynasty in Chinese annals. The Zhou introduced the influential concept of the mandate of heaven, a belief that rulers were divinely appointed, but also morally accountable. This principle deeply shaped Chinese political theory, linking the ethical conduct of a sovereign with their right to lead. The Zhou era also witnessed the birth of China's foundational philosophies, Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism. Confucius, the founder of Confucianism, emphasized ethical living, respect for elders, and social balance as the core values for individuals and rulers. Taoism, traditionally credited to Lao Tzu, encouraged aligning with the Tao, the natural way, through humility and simplicity. Legalism, meanwhile, advocated strict laws and enforcement, insisting that only strong centralized authority could maintain harmony. These ideologies profoundly impacted the way China was governed and understood itself. The rise of the Qin dynasty marked a major transformation. Under Qin Shi Huang, China was unified for the first time as a single empire. The Qin imposed standard measurements, currency, and writing, making governance smoother. Major national projects, like the early version of the Great Wall, were initiated to shield the empire from invasions. Still, Qin Shi Huang's autocratic rule, marked by censorship and persecution, sparked unrest. His harsh rule eventually led to the dynasty's rapid downfall after his passing. Succeeding the Qin, the Han dynasty ushered in what many view as a golden age. Building upon the Qin's foundation, the Han strengthened central control and made Confucianism the state doctrine. The Han saw territorial growth, and with the establishment of the Silk Road began international trade and cultural exchange. The era brought inventions like paper, improvements in medical knowledge, and astronomical insights. With the collapse of the Han, China entered the Three Kingdoms period, a time of chaos and division. Despite its instability, this era became legendary in folklore and was immortalized in the classic novel, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Later dynasties, like the Sui and Tang, restored order and expanded the nation. The Tang dynasty, often hailed as China's second golden era, experienced unprecedented growth in art, commerce, and culture. Poetry, ceramics, and visual arts reached new heights, while the capital Chang'an became a global trade and cultural hub, attracting people from all over Asia and the Middle East. For centuries, China's dynastic pattern continued, with each era leaving its imprint. From the mythic Shah to the glorious Tang, every dynasty enriched the Chinese identity. The philosophies and discoveries of these periods didn't just influence China, they helped shape civilization as a whole. The saga of modern humans commenced approximately 300,000 years ago in ancient Africa, during an era when the world was volatile and survival precarious. Our forebears belonged to a diverse group of human species inhabiting the earth, yet only Homo sapiens persisted. How did we manage to survive while others disappeared? What factors enabled us to adjust to a constantly shifting environment? To uncover these answers, we must delve deeper into the past, around 6 million years ago, when our evolutionary path began. Early hominins, the upright walking ancestors, diverged from the last shared ancestor we had with chimpanzees. Evolution is seldom straightforward. Across millions of years, several human-like species arose. Among these were Homo habilis, recognized as one of the earliest tool creators, and Homo erectus, who expanded from Africa into Europe and Asia. Nevertheless, evolution of modern humans. Physically, Homo sapiens were also different. Our bodies were slim and designed for stamina, which helped us flourish in varied habitats, from the vast African savannas to more demanding climates encountered during migrations. Unlike our Neanderthal relatives, who were sturdily built for Ice Age Europe, we depended on adaptability and inventiveness to face challenges. Our species was not solitary in the world. For tens of thousands of years, Homo sapiens coexisted with other human species, including Neanderthals in Europe and Denisovans in Asia. These interactions were not solely competitive. Genetic studies reveal episodes of interbreeding, and today, remnants of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA persist in modern humans, a testament to these ancient encounters. Migration marked a crucial chapter in our history. Between roughly 60,000 and 100,000 years ago, small groups of Homo sapiens began to exit Africa, gradually dispersing worldwide. As they entered new and often harsh environments, they adapted with exceptional ingenuity, fashioning tools, clothing, and survival strategies suited to extreme settings, from Siberia's frozen tundras to the dense jungles of Southeast Asia. Early humans exhibited an unmatched capacity to acclimate to their surroundings. Around 40,000 years ago, an extraordinary cultural and technological explosion occurred. This era witnessed the emergence of detailed cave art, musical instruments, and sophisticated tools. These innovations were not merely utilitarian. They reflected a growing capacity for abstract thinking, storytelling, and more profound social bonds. Such advancements reinforced communities and laid the groundwork for the development of complex societies. Despite these achievements, other human species began to vanish. By 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals had become extinct, followed by Denisovans and various other hominins. Why did Homo sapiens survive when others did not? The answer likely involves a blend of factors: our adaptability, cooperative nature, and perhaps chance. The journey of Homo sapiens is one defined by survival, creativity, and transformation. Every obstacle we encountered refined the characteristics that define us today. By exploring our origins, we gain deeper insight into how we came to dominate the Earth and continue to evolve amid the ever-changing challenges of the world. The dawn of early civilizations marks a significant turning point in this ongoing story. Trailblazers of civilization. The people of ancient Mesopotamia are broadly acknowledged as forerunners of organized human civilization. The name Mesopotamia, meaning the land nestled between two rivers, referred to the area situated between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, modern-day Iraq. This lush and fertile zone, often termed the Fertile Crescent, became the birthplace of several of humanity's most groundbreaking developments. Thriving approximately from 4,500 BCE to 1900 BC, the Sumerians made remarkable contributions that molded the course of early civilization through innovations in governance, commerce, writing systems, and urban planning. A central element in Sumerian society was the notion of the city-state, a politically autonomous region that transformed how human communities were structured. Unlike empires ruled by a central monarch, each Sumerian city-state, such as Ur, Uruk, and Eridu, had its unique governing authority, divine patron, and cultural identity. Uruk, often hailed as one of the earliest true cities, boasted a population nearing 50,000 residents at its height, laying the groundwork for what would become modern urban life. One of the most lasting legacies of the Sumerians is the creation of cuneiform script. Originally crafted to record commercial transactions, cuneiform evolved into a versatile writing system used for capturing legal decrees, myths, poetry, hymns, and historical records. The introduction of writing enhanced bureaucratic efficiency while also safeguarding the cultural heritage of Sumerian society for later generations. An iconic piece of literature from this civilization is the Epic of Gilgamesh, among the earliest surviving literary works, offering profound insight into the values and philosophical beliefs of its time. Religion saturated every corner of Sumerian life. Each city-state was aligned with a guardian deity, and the Sumerians believed that their gods directed every facet of life, from natural occurrences to human decisions. The towering ziggurats, which functioned as religious and administrative centers, embodied the spiritual link between the heavens and the earthly realm. Priests held high status, serving as the intermediaries between mortals and the divine. Religious doctrines significantly shaped the legal frameworks of the time as well. The Code of Uruk-agina, or Code of Uruk, considered the oldest legal code ever found, predates Hammurabi's laws and emphasized justice based on compensation over punishment. The shift toward codified law highlighted the transition from informal tribal customs to systematic governance, mirroring the growing sophistication of Sumerian society. Agriculture was the cornerstone of the Sumerian economy. Their population's expansion and societal development were sustained by an advanced irrigation system that tapped into the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, mitigating the region's unpredictable rainfall patterns. This innovation allowed for the mass cultivation of vital crops such as barley, wheat, and dates. The resulting agricultural surplus supported population growth and enabled societal diversification, allowing some individuals to specialize in crafts, trade, administration, and religious practices. Trade also played a vital role in bolstering the Sumerian economy. Despite Mesopotamia's agricultural richness, it lacked essential materials like timber, metals, and stone. To obtain these, the Sumerians built far-reaching trade connections stretching as far as the Indus Valley and the eastern Mediterranean. These networks facilitated the exchange of Sumerian goods like textiles, grains, and artisan crafts for raw materials such as copper, gold, and stones. This commercial web served as an early model of what would evolve into global trade systems. Even though the Sumerians shared cultural and religious commonalities, their city-states frequently vied for control over the region's fertile land. These power struggles are chronicled in the Sumerian King List, a historical document that outlines the reigns of rulers and the ebb and flow of political control. Figures such as Gilgamesh, immortalized through epic storytelling, exemplify the lasting significance of Sumerian leadership in the collective memory of ancient peoples. The decline of Sumerian society unfolded slowly, brought about by the increasing pressure from neighboring cultures, including the Akkadians and Amorites. The rise of the Akkadian Empire, led by Sargon the Great during the 24th century BCE, signaled the gradual erosion of Sumerian autonomy. Yet their cultural, scientific, and political innovations were far from lost. They deeply influenced subsequent empires such as the Babylonians and Assyrians. In essence, the Sumerians laid the intellectual and societal groundwork for modern civilization. Their contributions to writing systems, codified laws, organized religion, city planning, and international trade helped turn Mesopotamia into an epicenter of technological and cultural advancement. Their enduring legacy, rooted in creativity, adaptability, and foresight, continues to echo through the annals of human history and still shapes the modern world. World of ancient Egyptian rulers. Egypt, renowned for its colossal pyramids, awe-inspiring temples, and commanding leaders, stands as one of the most fascinating and influential civilizations in world history. At the core of this society was the pharaoh, a sovereign venerated as both a political leader and a divine being. For over 3 millennia, this extraordinary civilization flourished along the banks of the Nile River, leaving an indelible mark on culture and architecture that continues to echo through time. The Nile River served as the essential artery of Egyptian life. Its dependable yearly flooding enriched the soil with fertile silt, making it possible to grow plentiful harvests. This agricultural abundance not only supported a stable economy, but also nurtured the rise of an exceptionally advanced society. Surrounded by harsh deserts, the Nile offered both nourishment and natural defense, allowing Egyptian civilization to evolve in a distinctive way that emphasized wealth, faith, and strong centralized rule. The pharaoh held a dual role, representing both earthly governance and divine will. Revered as the bridge between the gods and the mortal realm, the pharaoh's responsibilities went beyond politics. They were charged with preserving Ma'at, the fundamental concept symbolizing cosmic truth, balance, and order. The magnificent pyramids and other vast constructions were not merely burial monuments. They were grand affirmations of the pharaoh's divine nature and his eternal passage into the spiritual world. Mot was the foundation of Egyptian life, and the pharaoh was seen as its chief protector. Upholding this sacred principle meant ensuring justice, securing the Nile's continued fertility, and conducting religious ceremonies and monumental projects to honor the gods. Any failure to preserve Mot was believed to invite Isfet, or chaos, which would disrupt natural harmony and social order. This deeply ingrained belief system unified the population and strengthened the ruler's divine authority. Among the countless pharaohs of Egypt, Ramses II, often known as Ramses the Great, is among the most legendary. Reigning during the New Kingdom, Ramses expanded Egypt's domain through military victories and left behind a legacy of opulent architectural feats. His temples at Abu Simbel, carved into the cliffs of the south, serve as remarkable demonstrations of his devotion to the gods and architectural ingenuity. His long reign brought about peace and affluence, reinforcing Egypt's position as a dominant force in the ancient world. In contrast, Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's rare female pharaohs, is remembered for her significant contributions to commerce, construction, and artistic patronage. During her reign in the 15th century BCE, she reopened major trade routes, bringing wealth and exotic goods to Egypt, and oversaw the erection of stunning buildings, such as her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari. Often portrayed in traditional male pharaoh attire, including the ceremonial false beard, Hatshepsut defied gender norms and reshaped perceptions of leadership, securing her lasting place in Egyptian legacy. Another noteworthy sovereign was Akhenaten, recognized for initiating bold religious changes during the 14th century BC. He introduced a form of monotheism by centering worship around Aten, the sun disk, and relocated the royal capital to the city of Amarna. This radical shift away from Egypt's deeply rooted polytheism caused major social and spiritual upheaval. After his passing, his reforms were undone, and many of his monuments were destroyed, yet his rule remains one of the most intriguing chapters in Egypt's historical narrative. His son, Tutankhamun, is especially well known for re-establishing traditional religious practices and for the modern discovery of his lavishly decorated tomb, an archaeological marvel that reignited global interest in ancient Egypt. The construction of the pyramids stands as one of Egypt's most enduring and awe-inspiring achievements. Built during the Old Kingdom, landmarks such as the Great Pyramid of Giza highlight the Egyptians' exceptional skill in engineering, mathematics, and project coordination. Commissioned by Pharaoh Khufu, the Great Pyramid represents the sheer magnitude of labor and organization required under royal command and symbolizes the divine nature of the pharaoh and his eternal journey to the afterlife. Egyptian society was firmly grounded in religious conviction, social order, and the belief in life beyond death. Pharaohs served as warriors, architects, and sacred caretakers, entrusted with the well-being of their people and the harmony of the cosmos. Their influence is preserved not only in the grand temples and monuments that still grace modern-day Egypt, but also in their contributions to the broader arc of human progress. The timeless fascination with ancient Egypt lies in its unparalleled accomplishments, profound spirituality, and the compelling legacies of its rulers, figures whose impact continues to mesmerize and inspire the world. Roman dominion. Among the most enthralling narratives in global history lies the saga of Rome, a chronicle of dominance, expansion, governance, and eventual collapse that unfolded across more than a millennium. Originating as a modest city-state along the banks of the Tiber River, it evolved into a colossal empire encompassing much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Rome's journey showcases both the power of human ambition and the vulnerabilities that come with it. Its victories and downfalls still echo across modern civilizations. Rome's ascent began modestly. According to ancient legend, it was founded in 753 BC by twin brothers Romulus and Remus. It initially functioned as a small monarchy, but it was not until 509 BCE when the Roman Republic was established, that the path toward greatness truly began. The Republic was grounded in a framework of checks and balances, carefully constructed to prevent the emergence of autocracy. Through elected magistrates, a senate, and public assemblies, the government was guided, albeit not without flaws and corruption. Nevertheless, this structure afforded Rome the stability it needed to grow. Fueled by military strength, astute negotiations, and unyielding determination, Rome began its territorial expansion. Its first major accomplishment was the unification of Italy, but the true emergence of Rome as a dominant force came through the Punic Wars 264–146 BC against Carthage. These brutal conflicts ended with Carthage's destruction and Rome's acquisition of lands in Spain, Sicily, and North Africa. The Roman legions, known for their discipline and strategic organization, became the most formidable force in the Mediterranean. As Rome grew, it didn't just acquire land, it absorbed cultures, technologies, and ideologies. The military system enabled integration of conquered peoples, many of whom rose to prominence within the empire. Some of Rome's most celebrated generals originated far from the Italian heartland. This inclusivity was one of the Republic's defining advantages, enabling it to hold together an expansive and varied empire. However, this rapid growth also planted the seeds of transformation. Alongside vast conquests came immense riches, which increasingly divided the elite class from the general populace. Corruption soared, land ownership among the poor diminished, and the rise of influential military figures such as Julius Caesar threatened the Republic's foundations. Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, intended to preserve the Republic, ultimately hastened its demise. By 27 BCE, Caesar's adopted heir Octavian, later Augustus, proclaimed the beginning of the Roman Empire. This marked the onset of an imperial era that would see Rome reach its highest peak. Augustus's rule inaugurated the Pax Romana, or Roman peace, a remarkable two-century period of relative stability and prosperity. During this golden age, Roman governance solidified, unifying a vast realm stretching from Britain in the west to Egypt and Syria in the east. Roman influence spread far and wide. Its laws, architecture, and culture became embedded throughout the territories it ruled. Infrastructure achievements like roads, aqueducts, and bridges displayed advanced engineering prowess and still stand today. The Roman legal code, with key ideas like the presumption of innocence, laid the foundation for many modern legal systems. Roman cities, from Londinium modern-day London to Antioch, were meticulously planned, with public baths, forums, and amphitheaters serving as hubs of daily life and social interaction. Yet, even during this seemingly unshakable peace, the cracks in Rome's foundation began to show. The immense scale of the empire made it difficult to manage effectively. Corruption grew within the bureaucracy, the economy wavered, and the military increasingly dominated over civilian institutions. By the 3rd century CE, Rome faced both internal unrest and escalating attacks from external forces such as the Goths and Vandals. The decline of Rome is a multifaceted tale. Scholars cite a mixture of internal fragilities and external threats as causes. Economically, the empire suffered from inflation, burdensome taxes, and overdependence on enslaved labor, which stunted innovation and economic resilience. Politically, instability reigned, with emperors often placed in power by military force rather than legitimate governance. In 284 CE, Emperor Diocletian sought reform by dividing the empire into eastern and western regions, hoping it would be easier to control. This split had enduring consequences. While the Eastern Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, would survive for another 1,000 years, the western half continued to deteriorate. By the 4th and 5th centuries CE, waves of invasions from Germanic tribes overwhelmed Roman defenses. The infamous Attila, the Hun, pushed these groups into Roman territory, where some sought shelter but eventually turned on their Roman hosts. In 410 CE, the Visigoths infamously sacked Rome, a stunning blow to a city long seen as indomitable. Then, in 476 CE, the final Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was overthrown by the Germanic leader Odoacer. This event traditionally signifies the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Although this fall is often regarded as the end of antiquity and the onset of the Middle Ages, Rome's influence persisted. The Byzantine Empire carried forward Roman governance, cultural heritage, and Christianity for centuries more. In the fragmented West, Roman ideas continued to shape evolving societies. Roman architecture, legal traditions, and engineering techniques formed the bedrock of European advancement. Latin, the Roman tongue, developed into the Romance languages and remained central to religion and scholarship for hundreds of years. The dream of a unified Europe under a singular ruler, as Rome once had been, continued to inspire generations of leaders and empires. Ultimately, Rome's saga is one of remarkable human creativity and inevitable impermanence. It serves as a powerful reminder that even the greatest civilizations are susceptible to internal discord and external pressures, a lesson that retains its relevance in the modern world. Rise, glory, and legacy of Persian civilization. The Persian civilization, among the grandest and most influential empires in human history, extended its dominion from the fringes of Europe deep into Asia. Its emergence transformed the ancient world, merging military conquest with shrewd diplomacy and governance with a policy of cultural respect. At its zenith, this colossal empire unified a diverse mosaic of ethnicities and customs under a refined bureaucratic structure, leaving behind a monumental heritage that still reverberates through time. The narrative begins with Cyrus the Great, the brilliant architect of the Persian realm, who emerged in the mid-6th century BCE. A member of the Achaemenid lineage, Cyrus overpowered the Medes and forged a domain that swiftly grew to include lands like Mesopotamia and Babylon. Yet, Cyrus's legacy is not merely one of expansion. He is remembered as a visionary who prioritized harmony. Unlike autocrats who ruled through oppression, Cyrus introduced an unprecedented approach grounded in acceptance and integration. When he seized Babylon in 539 BCE, he not only spared its citizens, but also preserved their spiritual and cultural practices. This earned him respect not only as a ruler, but as a savior. Among Cyrus's most remarkable legacies is the Cyrus Cylinder, widely recognized as the first document on human rights. This clay relic recounts his efforts to reinstate sacred sites and allow exiled communities, including the Jewish people, to return to their ancestral homes. His humane governance is praised in the Hebrew Scriptures, which describe him as the deliverer who authorized the rebuilding of the Jerusalem Temple. By blending authority with empathy, Cyrus laid the moral and political groundwork for a vast empire built not solely on might but mutual respect. Following Cyrus, his descendants carried the torch of expansion and refinement. Darius I, who assumed power around 40 years later, was an extraordinary strategist in statecraft. Under his rule, the empire functioned with systematic efficiency. Darius organized the territory into 20 satrapies or provinces, each governed by a satrap. This setup preserved regional autonomy while ensuring central oversight. He introduced a unified currency and spearheaded infrastructure projects, including the creation of the famed Royal Road, a 1,500-mile thoroughfare stretching from Sardis in the west to Susa in the east. These innovations boosted commerce, communication, and unity throughout the sprawling empire. Despite Darius's success, his reign faced serious challenges. In 499 BCE, the Ionian Revolt erupted when Greek settlements in Asia Minor rebelled against Persian dominance, triggering the infamous Greco-Persian Wars. These hostilities escalated under Darius's son, Xerxes I, culminating in legendary confrontations like Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. Although the Persian military boasted overwhelming resources, The solidarity and resilience of the Greek states thwarted their ambitions, effectively halting Persian advancement into Europe and altering the course of ancient history. More than a formidable military force or administrative marvel, the Persian Empire was a beacon of multiculturalism. Its rulers welcomed the diversity of tongues, faiths, and customs among their people, fostering a climate of inclusivity. The capitals, Persepolis and Susa, stood as architectural masterpieces, integrating elements from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and India, symbolizing the empire's diverse cultural identity. The dominant religion, Zoroastrianism, introduced ideas of cosmic dualism, moral responsibility, and the struggle between good and evil, philosophies that deeply influenced major world religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. However, by the 4th century BCE, the empire's strength began to dwindle. Internal dissent, corruption within the ruling class, and a string of ineffective monarchs weakened the once mighty state. The final blow came from Alexander the Great, the Macedonian ruler whose tactical brilliance led to the Persian defeat in pivotal battles such as Issus and Gaugamela. In 330 BCE, the fall of Persepolis symbolized the demise of Persian supremacy as Alexander annexed its vast domain into his expanding empire. Despite its political collapse, the Persian Empire's legacy endured. Its governance model and infrastructure served as templates for successor states, including the Hellenistic kingdoms and the Roman Empire. The administrative system, which artfully balanced centralized authority with local independence and cultural inclusion, set a lasting precedent for managing diverse populations. Persian contributions in the realms of art, architecture, and literature continued to shape and inspire the cultures it once governed. The Persian Empire was not simply a territorial powerhouse. It was a meeting point of civilizations, innovation, and philosophical thought. It linked the ancient East with the budding West, creating avenues for trade, dialogue, and cultural evolution. By harmonizing conquest with diplomacy, tradition with advancement, and control with acceptance, the Persian civilization remains a powerful reminder of what humanity can accomplish when guided by unity and foresight. Its influence is not only remembered, it continues to shape our world today.